I was brushing my teeth when my life ended. There was nothing unusual about that Tuesday morning. The dog barked at the mailman, the neighbor's kid rode his skateboard across my driveway, and my wife, Sarah, made her usual smoothie that sounded like a blender in hell. I was running late for a meeting with a client in downtown Charlotte, trying to spit out toothpaste while slipping my tie over my head. Then I heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A choked sob. The kind that cuts through everything. I stepped into the bedroom. Sarah sat on the edge of our bed, her back straight, shoulders shaking. The iPad was on her lap, her face frozen in a look I'd never seen before. Something between disgust and devastation. Before I could ask, she turned it toward me. A video. Blurry at first, then clearer. Me. Or someone who looked exactly like me. Naked. In a hotel room. With a woman I didn't recognize. Then another. Then another. The footage kept cutting between scenes like a montage. My voice, laughing, moaning. My face. Different times, different women. Same room. And then her voice, Sarah's, low and flat. How long? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even form a full sentence. It's not me, I whispered, but I didn't believe it myself. That's how it started. I'm Ethan Cole. 41. Founder of Cole and Hartman Real Estate Development. We build mid-sized commercial properties across the Carolinas. I started with nothing. Grew up in Winston-Salem, single mom, 2 jobs, barely made rent. I put myself through UNC Charlotte, worked nights, graduated without debt. I earned everything I had. Including Sarah. We met at a real estate networking event in Asheville 10 years ago. She was stunning, smart, sharp, wearing heels like she owned the earth beneath them. She'd just left a job at a tech startup and was trying to start her own consulting firm. We clicked fast. Talked numbers, then wine, then travel, then heartbreak. She had that energy, like she saw a version of me I hadn't even built yet. We married 2 years later. She was the one who convinced me to scale the business. You think too small, she used to say, pacing around my office in those heels, you're still building like the kid who grew up broke. She taught me how to take risks. We signed a prenup, but she tore it up 2 months before our wedding. Said we were in this together. I believed her. After the video, it was like living inside a slow-motion car crash. She didn't scream. Didn't throw things. She just unraveled. The next day, she was gone. No note. No text. Just gone. 2 days later, I got served. Divorce papers. Alleging infidelity, emotional distress, abandonment. My attorney, Miles, a bulldog of a man who'd handled most of our corporate contracts, looked at me like I had grown horns. You sure you didn't do anything stupid, Ethan? I didn't cheat, I said. That video's fake. Has to be. Miles didn't blink. Deepfake. I guess. I don't know. It's not real. Then we'll fight it. But we didn't. Not really. Because then came the financials. Sarah wasn't just asking for alimony, she was asking for everything. Full equity in Cole and Hartman, the house, the cabin in Blowing Rock, the cars. She claimed she co-founded the business. That her work and capital helped it scale. She had records. Emails. Shared accounts. And that video. God, that video. It spread. Quietly, but effectively. A Dropbox link shared with key clients, investors, even my mother. I'm so disappointed in you, Mom said on a voicemail I still haven't deleted. And the worst part? Everyone believed it. You were sloppy, Sarah said the one time she agreed to meet. It was a cafe near Freedom Park. Public. Neutral. Safe. I didn't do it. She sipped her latte like she wasn't burning the whole world down. Ethan. I watched you. In HD, moaning some girl's name. Twice. It's not real. I don't even know who she is. That's worse. Her voice was calm. Too calm. You've been doing it so long you don't even keep track anymore. I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't crying. Wasn't angry. She looked satisfied. I said something then that I wasn't supposed to. I want to prove it. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Annoyance. Amusement. Do what you have to do, she said, standing up. But don't be surprised if the truth embarrasses you more than the lie. I hired a private investigator. Not one of those washed-up ex-cops you find in the back pages. This guy, Travis Boone, was ex-CIA, wore denim like it was armor. He cost more than most people's rent, but I needed someone who could find shadows where others saw light. He watched the video 5 times. Then turned to me. First off, you need to sit down. Already am. Good. That video. Professionally made. Lighting's too good. Audio's clear. Faces are seamless. This wasn't cobbled together by some jealous ex. This was planned. Planned by who? He looked me dead in the eye. Someone with access to your likeness, your voice samples, and a lot of money. Sarah. He shrugged. She's smart. She's connected. But I'll need more than a hunch. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Because deep down, the idea had already started to root. Sarah. My wife. The woman who built me up, might have been the one who was tearing me down. A week later, Travis came back with something. Got a name, he said, sliding a folder across my desk. Marcus Hale. Works for a boutique media firm out of Atlanta. Specializes in digital editing and AI overlays. Used to do political smear ads. Real hush-hush stuff. And he got paid $40,000, 6 weeks before Sarah filed. Cash. No traceable source. You're sure? Travis raised an eyebrow. It gets better. He was in Charlotte 3 times in the last 3 months. Once. Same day Sarah told her assistant she was about to change her life. I opened the folder. There was a headshot of Marcus. Young, wiry, smug-looking. And a screenshot of a payment ledger with his name blacked out. But it was there. Clear as day. Sarah had paid someone to destroy me. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at the video again. My own face. My voice. My hands. And a rage I didn't know I was capable of boiled up from somewhere I didn't know existed. I wasn't just betrayed. I was erased. And I was going to get it all back. You don't really grieve the loss of a marriage all at once. You grieve in pieces. First, the trust. Then the memories. Then the version of yourself you thought you were when you were with them. I didn't cry when Sarah left. I didn't scream when the divorce papers hit. But when I found her secret contact labeled B. Langley, private, tucked deep in her old iPhone's hidden folders, that's when I realized I hadn't even started grieving. Because I hadn't lost a wife. I'd lost the woman I thought I knew. It started with a long shot. Travis, my investigator, told me Sarah had been careful. The kind of woman who doesn't make a move without covering her tracks, he said, pacing my office, the blinds drawn, his voice low. But nobody deletes everything. People always miss something. Sarah had given her old iPhone to her teenage niece about a year ago. I remembered because she made a big deal out of how generous it was of her to pass it down. Her niece, Emma, had used it for a while, but apparently broke the screen and threw it in a drawer. I called her brother and asked if he still had it. He did. And he mailed it to me, no questions asked. It looked innocent enough. Pink case, a cracked corner. When I turned it on, the screen lit up with an old wallpaper, our dog, Bailey, wearing a Santa hat. For a second, I almost laughed. Then I plugged it into my laptop. Travis connected with a guy in Dallas, some ex-cybersecurity tech who now made a living restoring deleted data for bitter spouses and angry CEOs. 3 days later, he sent me a file dump. Most of it was nothing. Old texts, shopping lists, Spotify playlists. But buried inside a hidden notes folder was a list of names. Contacts not stored in the usual way. Names with no numbers. Just labels. And one of them stood out. B. Langley, private. Hotel safe. Ask Marcus. It hit me like a freight train. Marcus Hale, the same guy Travis traced the deepfake to. And this B. Langley. I didn't know the name. But it wasn't just some contact. It was a breadcrumb. And Sarah had tried to hide it. I opened a whiskey and stared at the screen for a long time. What the hell were they keeping in a hotel safe? I called Travis the next morning. He showed up 30 minutes later, coffee in one hand, notebook in the other. Langley could be a fixer, middleman, lawyer, tech guy, hell, could even be a fake name. But a hotel safe. He whistled. That's specific. I gave him the date stamp from the note, March 3rd. It was just 3 weeks before Sarah confronted me with the video. I was in Atlanta that week, I told him. 2-day conference. But I came home early because she said she was sick. Travis nodded. And she probably checked into a hotel while you were gone. Met Marcus. Dropped something into a safe. What kind of hotel lets guests use safes like that? The kind where cash talks. Turns out, luxury hotels in downtown Charlotte keep private safes for VIP clients, especially those who deal with sensitive documents, diamonds, or dirty secrets. After some poking around, Travis tracked down security logs from a place called the Ellington, a sleek, upscale tower off Tryon Street with a reputation for discretion. He cross-referenced guest records with Sarah's credit card statement from March. There it was. March 3rd. One night. Under a fake name. S. Burnell. Her mother's maiden name. She booked a suite on the 14th floor. No room service. No calls. No checkout. She just showed up, stayed, and left. But the kicker? Travis called in a favor with a former concierge. After some subtle nudging and a few hundred in cash, the guy confirmed it. Sarah requested access to a private safe box during her stay. We had her. Almost. Because we still didn't know what she put inside. You're not going to like what I'm about to suggest, Travis said, lighting a cigarette outside my office. But if you want to get ahead of this, we need to open that safe. Legally. Define legally. I didn't respond. I just stared at the skyline beyond the glass. I'd built this office from nothing. Every chair, every desk, every brick. And now it might all be built on a lie. Let's do it. The Ellington wasn't easy to crack. We didn't try to sneak in. That wasn't Travis's style. He walked straight in, posed as Sarah's executive assistant, and spun a story about her having a mental breakdown, needing access to her safe because she'd forgotten something vital. They didn't budge. So we waited. 2 days later, Travis pulled some strings and called in a favor from a local judge. We didn't get a warrant, just a whisper. Enough to scare the hotel into giving us a 10-minute supervised access window. I signed a non-disclosure. Travis handed me gloves. We walked into the basement security vault like we owned the place. The safe was marked number 1146. A square gray box, nothing dramatic. The manager keyed it open, stepped back. Inside was a USB drive and a sealed envelope. That's it. No diamonds. No cash. Just secrets. Back in Travis's truck, I plugged in the USB. The screen flickered. 2 files appeared. The first was labeled Raw Footage, version 1.1. It was the original deepfake. Not the edited version. This one was longer. Sloppier. There were repeated takes, vocal overlays, body scans. It was a blueprint. And it confirmed everything. This wasn't some spontaneous revenge. It was manufactured. Frame by frame, someone had constructed the illusion of me cheating. In one clip, you could even hear Marcus giving direction in the background. Let's try that again. Get the shoulder angle right, make him look tired, like he's been there all night. I almost threw up. The second file was worse. It was an email thread. Between Sarah and someone named Benedict Langley. Subject line. Asset delivery complete, payment pending. They talked about the package, media control, and a timeline for client narrative deployment. It read like a hit contract, only the weapon was a lie. And then the last message, dated 2 days before the divorce papers were filed. Once the courts believe he's compromised, full leverage goes to you. He won't have the footing to fight back. After that, we're done. There it was. Proof. Sarah didn't just want a divorce. She wanted destruction. I opened the sealed envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a single photo. Sarah, with Langley. Smiling. Casual. His arm around her waist. They weren't strangers. They were partners. Maybe more. I sat in silence, staring at it, my hands shaking, my chest hollow. I'd spent 10 years building a life with a woman who'd been planning my downfall like it was a business strategy. She hadn't just left me. She'd rewritten the story of who I was and made sure the world believed her version. But now I had something she didn't expect. The truth. And the thing about truth. Once you have it, you don't hide it. You use it. There's something strange about seeing the men who destroyed your life standing in front of you like it's just another Tuesday. No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just the dull hum of a coffee shop and the guy who helped orchestrate your public execution, sipping a cold brew like he didn't burn you to the ground. His name was Marcus Hale. And he looked exactly like the kind of man you'd expect to do something like this, too smooth, too relaxed, too polished. He wore a navy blazer, no tie, and a calm little smirk that made my blood itch. He didn't look guilty. He looked entertained. "Ethan," he said, rising halfway from his chair. "I wasn't sure you'd actually show." I almost didn't. I pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. But then I figured, if a man helps destroy your life, the least he can do is explain why. He grinned, tilted his head, and leaned back. "Fair enough. Let me back up. After I found the USB, the email thread, the photo of Sarah with Langley, I thought I was holding the final piece of the puzzle. But as I sat in my office, watching the raw footage over and over, one thing kept gnawing at me. Marcus was too involved. He wasn't just hired help. He was directing scenes, adjusting angles, coaching the stand-in actors like some low-budget Spielberg. This wasn't just some random tech guy Sarah found on the dark web. He had a stake in it. A voice. A presence. So I called in a few favors of my own. One of my old college friends, Trevor, worked in digital advertising. He ran a background trace and found that Marcus had once worked with Langley at a boutique media manipulation firm out of Boston. Their clients weren't exactly Fortune 500 companies, they were reputation architects, as they called themselves. They built narratives. Killed stories. Created fake scandals. Covered up real ones. And the company? Shut down 3 years ago. But Marcus? He was still active. Freelance. Underground. Travis managed to find a burner number registered to a dummy account in Tennessee. A few text messages later, pretending to be a new client with a sensitive project, I had a meeting. Charlotte. Neutral location. 9 a.m. And now, here we were. "I didn't do this to you," Marcus said, folding his hands. "I did this for her." He said it so casually, I almost missed the weight of it. "For Sarah?" I asked. He gave a half nod, half shrug. "She came to us about a year before the video dropped. Said she was in a business partnership she couldn't escape. Said her husband was controlling. Said she needed a way out, one that would leave her with the assets, clean and unchallenged." I stared at him. "She said I was abusive. She said you were smart," he said carefully. "That you'd never give her up willingly. That you'd fight. That you'd make it ugly. So she wanted something that would end it before you could even raise your voice." I gritted my teeth. "She could have just left." "You're missing the point," he said. "She didn't want to leave empty-handed. And you weren't just her husband. You were her partner. Her co-founder. She wanted what you built. And she didn't want to negotiate." I sat back, trying to process what he was saying. The calmness in his voice. The complete lack of regret. "And Langley?" I asked. "What's his role?" His smile faltered. "Just slightly. He's not someone you want to tangle with, Marcus said. He funds operations. Makes introductions. Pulls strings. You don't find him. He finds you. That was the first time I felt real fear. Why are you even talking to me? I asked. Why not run? Lie. Cover your tracks. Marcus looked me dead in the eye. Because it's already bigger than you, Ethan. You were just step one. Those words echoed in my head for days. Bigger than me. What the hell did that mean? I had the files, the emails, the proof. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still just scratching the surface. Like this whole nightmare wasn't just about a bitter wife and a crooked tech guy, it was part of something designed. Travis agreed. This Langley guy, he said. He's not in it for the money. Guys like him are strategic. They destroy people the way some people collect coins. We dug into Langley's past, and what we found chilled me. He wasn't just Sarah's associate. He was the son of a disgraced political consultant who ran smear campaigns in the 90s. Langley had started in PR, but somewhere along the line, he'd gone rogue. He specialized in image assassinations for private clients. CEOs. Politicians. Even a couple high-profile divorcees. I wasn't his first project. And probably not his last. The next twist came the following Thursday. I was cleaning out the garage, trying to clear my head, when my phone buzzed with a new voicemail. Unknown number. I hit play. The voice was quiet. Shaky. Female. Ethan. I don't know if you remember me. My name is Julia Reese. I was married to a man named Daniel Reese. 3 years ago, he was accused of something awful. There was a video. Just like the one you had. But it wasn't real. He killed himself 6 months later. I found your name in a folder he kept. You need to be careful. You're not the only one. The phone almost slipped out of my hand. Another victim. Another name. Another setup. Daniel Reese. A former pharmaceutical exec who'd been arrested for solicitation. Charges dropped after his death. I'd read about it once, in passing. Back then, I didn't know the man. Now, I couldn't ignore the pattern. Langley. Marcus. Sarah. The video. The assets. The manipulation. This wasn't just a one-off revenge scheme. It was a business model. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, lights off, phone in hand, staring at the photo of Sarah with Langley, her smile frozen in that perfect, practiced curve. And then I realized something. There was no way she pulled this off alone. Not the contacts. Not the strategy. Not the cold, clinical execution. Sarah had always been smart. Ambitious. But this was calculated. Professional. Almost trained. And then I remembered something her sister once told me, offhand, a joke at the time. She's not the sweet girl you married, Ethan. She's the one you hire when you need someone buried without a shovel. At the time, I thought she was being sarcastic. Now I wasn't so sure. The next morning, I sat in Travis's truck, laptop open, staring at the email thread again. There was one line I hadn't noticed before. Langley to Sarah. Once Ethan's out, the board votes should tip your way. Then it's yours, clean, with no ties. The board, I whispered. Travis looked over. What? I scrolled back through the email. Sarah didn't just want the divorce. She wanted control of our entire company. And if she had Langley set me up, then manipulated the board into thinking I was compromised, she wouldn't just get half the business. She'd get all of it. You ever get that feeling where the world feels like a movie set? Like all the people you trusted were just reading from a script, and you're the only one who didn't get a copy. That was me, standing in the glass conference room of the company I built, watching people I hired, mentored, celebrated birthdays with, vote to strip me of everything. My name, my shares, my legacy. Sarah sat at the head of the table, calm, professional, in a charcoal suit I'd never seen before. Hair pinned tight. Lips neutral. She didn't even look at me when the vote passed. Not even a nod. The moment it was official, she stood, said, "Thank you," and walked out. That was it. No victory smile. No gloating. Just business. And that's when I realized, I hadn't lost my wife. I hadn't lost my company. I'd been replaced. It took me 3 days to process what had happened. The board cited reputational damage, optics, loss of stakeholder confidence. All of it traced back to the deepfake video Sarah fed them months earlier. I tried to show them what I'd found, the USB, the emails, the truth, but none of them wanted to hear it. Even if it was fake, one of them said, "The fallout's already happened. We can't undo the damage now. We have to move forward." And just like that, I was out. No office. No desk. No final word. Travis tried to keep me grounded. "You've still got leverage," he said. "Evidence. Witnesses. We can build a case." But I wasn't interested in lawsuits anymore. I didn't want justice. I wanted her to feel what she'd made me feel. Alone. Exposed. Powerless. And for that, I needed more than evidence. I needed a plan. The first piece fell into place by accident. I was going through old photos on my laptop, half looking for something, half drowning in the past, when I found an album from our 5-year anniversary trip to Lake Geneva. One photo caught my eye. It was taken by a stranger at a vineyard. I remembered the moment clearly. We'd just had a fight that morning, something about her missing a board meeting, but in the picture, she was laughing, hand on my chest, eyes locked on me like I was still the center of her world. But in the background, I saw a familiar face. Langley. He was blurred, out of focus, but unmistakable. Sitting at a nearby table, watching us. Alone. I zoomed in, enhanced the image, cross-checked it with a clearer photo from the USB folder. Same man. Same watch. Same posture. That trip was 2 years before the divorce. So now I knew something else. Langley had been watching us long before Sarah hired him. Which meant either they were involved way earlier, or she wasn't the one who initiated the plan. Travis and I mapped it out on his whiteboard, every date, every connection, every clue. Lake Geneva, Langley spotted nearby, 2 years prior. Boston, Sarah had a mysterious Women in Leadership seminar. Langley's firm was registered in the same building. Vegas, I remembered she took a sudden girls' weekend a year ago. Turns out Marcus Hale was doing a tech demo at a cybersecurity expo down the street that same weekend. Too many coincidences. I was no longer convinced Sarah orchestrated this. Maybe she'd agreed to it. Maybe she'd benefited from it. But someone else pulled the first thread. Langley. So I went looking for someone who knew Langley better than anyone else. His past. His enemies. His weaknesses. The only person I could find was Julia Reese, the widow who'd called me after her husband Daniel killed himself following a nearly identical takedown. I found her living in a modest condo outside Asheville, North Carolina. She opened the door wearing a hoodie, no makeup, dark circles under her eyes. She looked like someone who'd seen too much, and believed no one. "You're Ethan?" she asked. I nodded. She didn't invite me in. Instead, she stepped outside and pulled a worn manila folder from under her arm. "I don't want to talk," she said. "But you need this." Inside the folder were notes, clippings, screenshots, her late husband's personal investigation. Daniel had found out he was being watched, manipulated, pre-framed. His HR records were tampered with. Anonymous complaints filed. A fake escort company charged to his business card weeks before he even saw the video. The name, Benedict Langley, appeared 3 times, in encrypted emails, in a retainer contract to a shadow PR firm, and on a wire transfer sent from a Cayman Islands bank. Langley wasn't just working with Sarah. He had a network. And my takedown. It was just another case study. "This man, Langley, he targets people with something to lose," Julia whispered, finally looking at me. "Power. Control. Companies. Influence. Then he convinces someone close to them to help tear it all down." "Why?" I asked. What's the point? She smiled, hollow. Some men want power. Others just want to prove they can take it away. That night, I sat alone in my condo. A place that didn't even feel like mine. I opened my laptop and started building a timeline. Not just of my story, but everyone's. Daniel Reese. Myself. 2 others I'd found through old Reddit threads and hidden forums, both involving mysterious scandals, sudden divorces, asset grabs. All with connections to Langley's old firm. All involving someone close to the victim. And all ending with the victim either dead, disgraced, or ruined. Then I did something Sarah never expected. I created a new email address. An alias. Anonymous. And I sent a message to every board member, every investor, every client Sarah had brought on since the takeover. Subject line. You didn't win. You were played. Inside, I dropped the photo of Sarah and Langley. The video metadata. Screenshots of her emails. Quotes from Marcus. Julia's folder. Everything. I didn't ask for justice. I just let the truth rot its way into their trust. By morning, I had 9 replies. 2 wanted more information. 1 wanted a meeting. And 1 was from Sarah. No subject. Just a message. I don't know what you think you're doing. But if you come after me, Ethan, I swear to God. I didn't read the rest. I just hit reply and typed. I'm not coming after you. I already caught you. Now I'm coming for him. You can destroy a man's life in 2 ways, burn his house down, or make him think he lit the match himself. Langley. He preferred the second method. That's what made him dangerous. He didn't use brute force. He used doubt, shadows, silence. He made people question what they knew, who they trusted. By the time you realized what he'd taken from you, it was already gone. But now. I'd stopped playing defense. I wasn't chasing Sarah anymore. I was hunting him. Finding Langley wasn't easy. He moved like smoke, no address, no digital footprint, no paper trail. But the thing about people who think they're invisible is, they leave traces when they stop being careful. And Langley had gotten comfortable. He'd used the same shell company in the Cayman Islands, Gale Crest Ventures, to wire funds to the fake PR firm that managed my takedown and Daniel Reese's. That firm had an office in Miami. So did the bank that processed the retainer fee. Too much overlap. Too many recycled tools. Through a former investor Sarah and I had once courted, one who hadn't bought her, Ethan's unstable narrative, I got access to the original offshore filings from years ago. They traced back to a management firm in Atlanta. That firm shared 3 directors with a nonprofit, the Anther Initiative, which funded restorative media narratives for victims of corporate injustice. A noble-sounding front. But their website was a ghost town. And their listed address? A private office suite in Midtown Manhattan. I booked a flight. New York was colder than I remembered, gray, steel skies, and the kind of wind that makes every sidewalk feel like a decision. I wore a ball cap, kept my head down. I wasn't exactly famous, but in some circles, especially legal ones, my name had become a case study. The building at 41st and Lexington was sleek and forgettable, mirrored glass, quiet lobby, security who didn't ask questions unless you made them. I posed as a potential donor to the Anther Initiative and scheduled a consultation. The woman who greeted me was young, polite, and overly rehearsed. Her name tag read Celia. Celia led me to a small conference room, offered bottled water, and slid a glossy pamphlet across the table. Mr. Green will be with you shortly. Green. Langley was using a different name now. Of course he was. 10 minutes later, he walked in. Same man. Same build. Same unsettling calm. Tailored charcoal suit. No tie. Gold cufflinks. Nothing about him screamed fraud or sociopath. But I knew better. He looked at me, and smiled like we were old friends. Mr. Carter, he said smoothly, extending a hand. A pleasure. I didn't shake it. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream. But I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I played the part. I was the curious philanthropist. He was the gracious guide. For 45 minutes, he talked about Anther's mission, their clients, their discreet solutions for reputational repair. He never admitted to anything. But he didn't deny anything, either. He was baiting me. Testing how much I knew. So I tested him back. At the end of the meeting, I asked, "Do you only work with victims, or do you create them too?" Langley's smile didn't even twitch. "We all shape the truth, Mr. Carter. Some of us just do it better." That night, back at my hotel, I sent the footage to Travis. He'd hidden a microcamera inside my phone case, synced to a private cloud. "Jesus," he muttered on the video call. "You actually sat across from the guy." And he admitted it, sort of. "It's not enough to take him down legally," I said. "But it's enough to turn the pressure up. So what's the play now?" I didn't hesitate. "We make him paranoid." Langley's power came from silence. From staying hidden, staying clean, letting others take the fall. So I decided to reverse that. I leaked the footage, anonymously, to 3 online investigative journalists I'd vetted carefully. The kind who live for conspiracy, corruption, and dismantling fake reputations. The story broke within 2 days, shadowman behind CEO scandals linked to media smear firm. Langley's face. His aliases. His nonprofits. His shell companies. It wasn't a full exposé, but it was enough to make him sweat. Enough to make him move. And when he moved, I followed. A week later, Travis traced a private charter flight under one of Langley's holding companies, departure from JFK, arrival in Austin, Texas. No checked bags. Just a man traveling light and fast. I knew what he was doing. Damage control. I followed him to a luxury short-term rental downtown. I watched him for 3 days. He met with 2 lawyers, a tech consultant, and, on the 4th day, Sarah. She arrived in a black SUV, sunglasses on, wearing the same perfume I used to wake up smelling on my pillows. I watched her from across the street, standing in the shadow of a parking garage. My fists clenched at my sides. She'd helped destroy me. And now she was helping protect the men who gave her the blueprint. But she wasn't there to gloat. I could tell by her posture, her stiff shoulders, her rapid hand gestures, she was nervous. Whatever I'd stirred up, she felt it, too. Langley wasn't just losing control. He was about to turn on her. Later that night, I got the text. Blocked number. "You think this ends with me, Ethan? You're not built for this game. Walk away. Last warning." I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied. "You made a mistake. You taught me how to play." The final piece came from Julia Reese. She'd been doing her own digging, too. She sent me a document, a scanned non-disclosure agreement signed by Langley and Sarah 8 months before our divorce. It referenced asset transfer strategy, reputation narrative, and post-dissolution business reorganization. Sarah hadn't just hired him. She'd partnered with him. They'd split my company's corpse before I even smelled the fire. I printed out the contract, highlighted the key sections, and mailed a copy to every major client Sarah had secured since her takeover. By hand. With a note that read, "You're doing business with someone who doesn't build empires. She just waits for someone else to build it, then steals the deed." The fallout was immediate. I got wind of 2 contracts being suspended. One investor withdrew entirely. And then, finally, Sarah called me. Not a message. Not an email. A full-on call. I almost didn't pick up. But I did. "Ethan," she said, her voice tight and furious. "What the hell are you doing?" "What you taught me," I said. "Except I'm not faking anything. I'm using the truth." She paused. I could hear her breathing, short, sharp. "You have no idea what you've started," she whispered. "You think you're just hurting me. Langley will bury you." "Maybe," I said. "But I already crawled out of one grave. What's one more?" She hung up. I stood by the window that night, watching the Austin skyline flicker in the dark. Langley was still out there. Sarah was still holding power. But now, So was I. I wasn't innocent anymore. I wasn't naive. But I was armed, with the truth, with allies, with leverage. They'd built their empire on silence. I was going to make it scream. It started with silence. No texts. No calls. No threats. For a full week after I exposed Sarah and Langley's NDA, they went dark. Which, honestly, scared me more than all the noise. Langley was like a spider, you don't notice he's gone until you realize you're already in the web. I didn't sleep much. Neither did Travis. We worked in shifts, watching their movements, tracing bank activity, back-channeling with journalists and legal contacts. But then something happened we didn't expect. Langley disappeared. His Austin rental cleared out overnight. Cell phone disconnected. Flight records nothing. 1 minute he was across the street from me. The next, he was smoke again. And then, right when I started to think we'd finally pushed him into hiding, something shifted. Something small. But deliberate. It was Travis who caught it. He called me at 2:16 a.m., his voice low, alert, shaking a little. "Check your inbox," he said. I did. There was a single email. No subject line. No sender name. Just a random string of numbers as the address. Inside was a Dropbox link. I clicked. A video began to buffer. Grainy. No sound. It was a parking garage security feed, maybe third level underground. A man walked into frame. Me. Except, it wasn't me. It was someone dressed like me. Same jacket. Same shoes. Same walk. And then, a second figure entered the frame. A woman. Blonde. Slim. Early 30s. They argued. She slapped him. He grabbed her arm. They struggled. Then, he shoved her. She hit the concrete wall. Hard. Motionless. He walked away. The timestamp. 2 days in the future. What the hell is this? I whispered. Travis breathed through his teeth. Langley's back. How do you know? Because this is how he operates. He's not just going after you now, he's pre-building your next scandal. Assault. Violence. Something that'll bury every scrap of sympathy you've earned. I sat down slowly, heart hammering. He's not trying to destroy me, I said. He's trying to make me destroy myself. That's when I realized, this wasn't just revenge. This was war. And Langley was escalating. I had to move faster. Hit harder. I couldn't just keep reacting, I needed to finish it. So I set a trap. It started with Marcus Hale. The tech broker who'd once vouched for Langley, then tried to walk it back. Travis reached out, played nice, promised confidentiality. We asked him to confirm something. Did Langley ever mention a physical safe house? A burner office? A place where he kept analog records? At first, Marcus said no. Claimed Langley was all digital. Nothing traceable. But after Travis leaned in, mentioned possible immunity, legal protection, he caved. There's a storage unit, Marcus finally admitted. Brooklyn. Industrial zone. Langley kept backups there. Just in case someone like you ever got close. We had our lead. 2 days later, I flew to New York. This time, I didn't bother with disguises. I wanted him to know I was close. The storage facility was an unmarked, 3-story brick building behind a chain-link gate. No cameras. No staff. Just a keypad entry and rows of numbered units. I waited until 2 a.m. Then I picked the lock. Unit 319. Just like Marcus said. Inside, it was cleaner than I expected. No dust. Metal shelves lined the walls, each labeled with years, aliases, case codes. I wasn't the first. I wasn't even the most interesting. But I was still active. Folder after folder had notes about me. Surveillance photos. Call logs. Edited scripts. Versions of the fake cheating video with different lighting and dialogue. And near the back of the unit, inside a plastic sleeve, I found it. A signed payment schedule from Sarah. Her name. Her signature. Dates. Amounts. Memos like mid-phase edit and asset shift phase 3. This wasn't a partnership. It was a contract. Proof. Real, undeniable proof. I took photos. Scanned documents. Sent copies to Travis and 3 separate lawyers. But then, I froze. Behind me, I heard a voice. You just couldn't let it go, could you? Langley. Standing in the open doorway. Calm. Unarmed. Smiling. I didn't speak. My hands were fists. You want to hit me, he said, stepping inside. I'd let you. But there's a camera in here now. Would make for a nice follow-up video. I turned, heart racing, every muscle ready to explode. But I didn't move. I wasn't going to give him the show. Not this time. You crossed a line, I said quietly. He tilted his head. I cross a lot of lines. Which one upset you the most? The video? The board? Your wife? You ruined people, I said. I shaped people, he corrected. Gave them what they wanted. Freedom. Power. Escape. Sarah wanted out. You just refused to read the signs. My blood boiled. She wanted out. She could have asked for a divorce. She didn't need to destroy me. She didn't destroy you, he said. I did. She just opened the door. I stepped closer. He didn't flinch. You think this is over? I asked. Langley smiled. It's never over. People like me don't disappear, Ethan. We just change faces. Then he turned and walked away. No threats. No fear. Like he knew something I didn't. When I got back to the hotel, Travis was already calling. You need to sit down, he said. What now? There's a leak. What? Someone released an audio clip. Edited. Sounds like you threatening Sarah. It's all over the investor channels. Reddit. Even a YouTube short. Her team spinning it as a pattern of abuse. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. She's going scorched earth. That's when I decided. No more middle moves. No more leaks. No more slow reveals. I was taking everything. The next morning, I walked into a news studio. A podcast channel. One with a rising reputation for exposing high-profile corruption. I sat across from the host, a woman named Aria Boyd. Smart. Sharp. Known for cutting through BS like a scalpel. I handed her the photos. The video files. The signed contract. The security footage timeline. Julia's documents. The deepfake metadata. Everything. I went on camera. And I told my story. From start to finish. Names. Dates. Methods. Motives. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just told the truth. And when Aria asked me why now, I looked directly into the lens and said. Because silence is how they win. And I'd rather lose everything out loud than survive in the dark. The episode dropped that night. By morning, it had 2.1 million views. By noon, legal bloggers were analyzing Sarah's contract. By nightfall, 2 ex-clients came forward and admitted Langley had done the same thing to their CEOs. And by the end of the week, a warrant was issued for Langley. A civil suit was filed against Sarah. And a formal apology was drafted by the board of my old company. I didn't read it. I was sitting alone in Central Park when I got the last message. Blocked number. You win this one, Ethan. But wars don't end. They wait. I deleted it without replying. Then I turned off my phone. And I finally exhaled. I thought it would feel like victory. But it didn't. Not when the news cycle turned, when Langley vanished from headlines, when Sarah stopped responding to subpoenas and retreated to her lawyer's fortress of silence. Not even when my name was, technically, cleared. Because the truth is, once your life's been burned down, there's no restoring it. You just live among the ashes, trying not to breathe too deeply. The fallout wasn't dramatic. It was slow. Administrative. Bureaucratic. Sarah was sued for breach of fiduciary duty and conspiracy to defraud. Langley was indicted in absentia, but his trail went cold somewhere in Belize. My name was removed from the abuse allegations list some media had so casually drafted. But none of that gave me back my house. Or my reputation. Or the years I'd poured into a company I co-founded and bled for. What I got instead was time. Time to sit still. Time to sift through the wreckage. Time to ask questions I'd spent a year avoiding. Like, why did Sarah do it? Not how. I already knew the how. But the why. What makes someone go from partner to executioner? I hadn't spoken to her since the lawsuit was filed. She didn't reach out. Didn't apologize. Didn't deny it. But on a cold Thursday morning in March, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just 2 words on the front. For Ethan. I opened it slowly, like it might bite. It was short. Neat. No sign of her usual loops or flourishes. You were never supposed to lose everything. That wasn't the plan. Langley told me it was just a reset. That he'd break the illusion of your innocence, you'd settle quietly, and I'd walk away with my half. I didn't know he was going to burn it down. I didn't know about the montage. I didn't know you'd fight back. I thought I was escaping a marriage. I didn't realize I was starting a war. I never loved him. If that matters. But I also stopped loving you long before I realized it. That's on me. I know you probably hate me. You should. I won't fight the case. I won't hide. I've lied enough. I'm sorry. It ended there. No signature. But I knew her handwriting like I knew my own heartbeat. I read that letter 5 times. Not because I was trying to forgive her. But because I didn't know what to feel. Hate. Pity. Closure. None of those things quite fit. So I folded it, locked it in a drawer, and walked out of the apartment I was renting on the Lower East Side. It was Travis who finally dragged me out of my head. He showed up with a file folder, coffee, and a question. You want the last piece? I looked up. There's another piece. He nodded, sat across from me, and opened the folder. Inside, an envelope marked with a Department of Justice seal. Inside that, a USB drive. He slid it to me. This came from a whistleblower inside Langley's old consulting firm. You're not the only one, he recorded. Not by a long shot. I plugged it into my laptop. It autoplayed a dated video, low resolution. Langley. Sitting in front of a whiteboard. Explaining a playbook. A literal playbook. It had a name. The Phoenix Protocol. He was teaching a room full of silent faces how to stage collapses, fake affairs, rigged financial trails, legal setups designed to force settlements and destroy reputations. And in the top corner of the whiteboard, my name. Along with 4 others. He tested it on you, Travis said. You were a beta run. And the others? 2 settled. 1 vanished. 1's in a psych ward. I felt my stomach turn. Langley wasn't just a manipulator. He was building an industry. It made everything click. The speed, the precision, the detail of the fake video. The timing of the media leaks. The way Sarah had just slid into the narrative without breaking a sweat. She wasn't the mastermind. She was the first client. A week later, I released the video. Not through a lawyer. Not on a podcast. I uploaded it myself, anonymously, to a secure public archive, tagged with names, dates, and keywords that guaranteed journalists would find it. Within 72 hours, the house of cards began to fall. A senator's divorce came under scrutiny. A startup CEO's mysterious resignation got reopened. The FBI reopened an old fraud case tied to Langley's shell companies. For the first time, I wasn't just a victim of the machine. I was helping to break it. 2 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, there was silence for a second. Then a voice I hadn't heard in almost a year. Ethan. I didn't reply. Please don't hang up, Sarah said quietly. I'm not calling to ask for anything. I needed to say it to your voice. I'm sorry. For real. I should have stopped it before it started. I knew what Langley was, and I let him in anyway. I listened. She continued. I didn't do it for money. I know it looked that way. But it wasn't greed. It was fear. I was scared of being forgotten. Of becoming irrelevant. You were always 10 steps ahead, always in control. I felt like I was disappearing, Ethan. And when Langley offered me a way out, I took it. Silence. Then I said the only thing I could. You destroyed us for a feeling. She didn't argue. Just whispered, I know. And then she hung up. I stood there for a long time after. Not angry. Not even sad. Just done. Like the last chapter had been written. 3 months later, I started something new. It wasn't flashy. No investors. No big office. Just a small consulting firm helping executives clean up toxic partnerships before they turned into legal wars. I called it Signal. Because that's what I needed back then. A signal that something was wrong. Before it was too late. One evening, I was walking along the East River when Travis joined me, holding 2 beers. He handed me one. We stood in silence, watching the water shift under the dying light. You good? He asked. I took a sip. I don't know what good means anymore, I said. He nodded. Fair. Then, you think he'll come back? Langley. Yeah. People like that don't stay gone. I thought about it. About how quiet it had been lately. About the offshore accounts we never cracked. About the blank faces in the Phoenix Protocol video. He'll come back, I said. But next time, people will know what to look for. Travis nodded, smiling faintly. Good, he said. Because next time, I want to be the one pulling the rug out from under him. That night, I went home and unlocked the drawer with Sarah's letter. I read it one last time. Then I burned it. Not out of anger. But because some stories don't deserve to be preserved. They just need to end.